The story of neurofeedback training begins about 70 years ago in the lab of Dr. Joe Kamiya. Dr. Kamiya was a neuroscientist at the University of Chicago who opened his lab in 1953. As he was getting started there, he met Dr. William Dement, another local scientist who later became known as the father of sleep medicine. Dr. Dement was using electroencephalography or EEG brain recordings to study sleep, and Dr. Kamiya asked Dr. Dement if he would train him on EEG. So, Dr. Kamiya started using EEG in his lab to study people's brain activity, and he noticed that when people closed their eyes and relaxed, sometimes the occipital scalp would show these bursts of 10 Hz waves, which means that the waves were oscillating at 10 times per second, a frequency that became known as alpha waves. Naturally, Dr. Kamiya started to wonder about the relationship between these bursts of waves and what the person was experiencing internally. So, to figure that out, he designed his first experiment, a simple setup where he would record people's EEG signals and ring a bell randomly. He told the subject about these bursts of alpha waves that he was seeing, and he asked them to just guess whether or not the bell was rung while they were in one of those bursts. If they got it right, he told them, and over time he found that people could not only predict when they were experiencing an alpha burst, but they could even generate them voluntarily. In a second setup, the researchers would play a tone whenever the subject entered alpha, and they asked them to try to keep the tone playing for longer, and thereby stay in alpha. Amazingly, after a few sessions, most people could do it. These experiments in the late 1950s were some of the first neurofeedback sessions ever conducted. And now, almost 70 years later, this has developed into an entire field of research. In modern studies, neurofeedback training has even been shown to improve symptoms of depression, ADHD, OCD, and anxiety. In the next few videos, you'll learn about how this happens and why neurofeedback training is so powerful.